You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast, and the Indiana Fever got back in the winning column. Keeping the streak going, it was beat the Washington Mystics 85-83. And again, the star of the show, Caitlin Clark, really had a great game. I mean, just shot at 7-21. Obviously, that's coming in a little less than what you want. But at the same time, you looked at what the defense was able to do and how they did it. And of course, she played 39 minutes and 8 of 15 shooting, 7 of 13 from the 3-point line, 7 of 8 from free throws. Here's where it gets really good with the stats of Caitlin Clark and where she comes in. I tell you, she's an outstanding basketball player. You're pulling down 8 rebounds, okay? You're getting 6 assists. You're getting 4 steals, okay? Your turnover ratio is still up there too high because your assist to turnover ratio is in a negative. 8 turnovers and came out a +5 on the night. Now, here's what's interesting of all the starters. Okay, when you look at the plus minus, and folks, the way the plus minus works, you won the game by 2. What was the player's contribution? If I look at Caitlin Clark, +5, so she's ahead. The rest of the starters are a minus. You got Wallace as a -6, Mitchell -1, Boston -3, and again, Smith -3. So the whole other 4 starters were a minus. But Samuels and Wheeler came off the bench. Samuels a +10. Okay, so really, Samuels way outplayed the performance of the game. You won by 2. And you got Wheeler coming in there at a +8. So that's something for Christy Sides to take a look at. But getting back to it, it's good to get in the win column. Obviously, the Indiana Fever, they've had their struggles. But, you know, I kind of looked at it. I looked at Caitlin Clark's film, and I kind of studied it. And I said, whoa. I mean, this is going to be a 50-point game. It's going to hit the books sooner or later. Somebody's going to get a 50 burger. And the night I saw in the third quarter, she just stretched it out, stroked 8 points. And the difference between Caitlin and the other players is she's God gifted to shoot the basketball. I mean, she shoots the lights out the basketball. There's no doubt. And when she gets cooking and everything gets going right and she gets in rhythm and she feels good, she's just going to tear it up. Now, of course, it's the Washington Mystics. So let's not get ahead of ourselves because when you look at it, you got the Fever won their 3rd game. The Mystics haven't won a game all year. Okay, that's a frustrating point to be looking at, only from the standpoint that eventually you want to get in the win column, and Washington suffering not only at the games, but they're also suffering at the gate and the attendance. There's a lot of things going on with the Mystics. But I'll get back to Caitlin Clark because this is going to be an outstanding player. This player is going to do some things that others just haven't been able to do on the basketball court, and the leadership and the quality. Now, as I said before, this season there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Christy Sides, there's one other thing I didn't understand, the offensive defense assignments as she was pulling Caitlin Clark out of the game. That's a little unusual because a player like Clark, I'd never take him out of the game because that one play, she can get the steal. I mean, she's all over the place trying to make plays. And the fact that, you know, we got to figure out what's going to be best to get her some rest, but not rest on the bench, rest during the games. And that's where I'm saying you're going to need another point guard who's going to come in and has a focus. Mitchell is the other point guard. Challenge I have with Mitchell is Mitchell's focus on scoring too. So that doesn't really make sense because now we got 2 players focused on scoring. And the other was tonight, you know, Boston just didn't get the touches. You know, I mean, it's the 33 minutes. I mean, she was kind of lost in the shuffle, but it played itself out. And you're looking on the other side, you know, you got Dolson, the big center, had a good game, 19 points. Velu, you know, finished with 9, but a +10 on the floor. So you got to look at this and try to say, where did they lose it? And this is interesting because all of the Washington Mystics starters were in the plus side. And I haven't seen this in basketball in a long time, so folks hang with me as I educate you on the plus minus. All of Washington's starters were on the plus side, okay? You look at Edwards +7, Dolson +3, Vanloo +10, Samuels +9, Atkins +3. Now, I don't know what the Washington Mystics are trying to do or what they're doing, but this doesn't make sense to me because when you go to the bench, everybody's a minus. Everybody's a minus on the bench. You got Hines is -9. You get Engster is -2. You got Walker -16. You got Richards -13. And Melbourne -2. I mean, so it's like, why even play the reserves if they don't want to play? Now, that's another story. That's another day. But getting back to what we are actually talking about in Caitlin Clark, let me just tell you this, folks. I get it. I get all the battling. I looked at film. There's really only one way to play her. Okay, you got to get a little physical to play her. And I wanted to explain to everybody, this is not Caitlin Clark, first time playing against black players. This is also Caitlin Clark, got a little mean streak in her too, okay, because you don't get this good by not getting in the game and challenging all the other players. The only difference that separates Caitlin Clark coming in as an ambassador for the WNBA is she is God-gifted in shooting. Not a great shooter, not a good shooter. God-gifted in shooting, where she could put the ball in the hole from anywhere on the floor. They start getting the corner three. They start coming off the pin downs. They start coming off the curls. I mean, all that's going to materialize itself. And, of course, when she gets to the offseason, obviously she's getting blitzed more than anybody in the WNBA, but that's not going to matter because offseason, when you put the muscle on, she'll be able to handle that. But you're watching a transitional player. There's other great players in the WNBA, but obviously she's one of them, and there's others as well who are 40, 50, 90 player. What does that mean, folks? 40% three-point line, 50% from the field, 90% from the free throw line. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We're powered up by Fanatics, and I'm just telling you, Caitlin Clark's God-gifted. Enjoyed watching the game tonight. WNBA, fantastic show, and we'll be right there for the next one. You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast, where all things are possible to those who believe.